In today's live, we'll cover the one question that you should always ask yourself when striving to achieve a new goal. And the difference between you answering this question honestly and dishonestly could mean the difference between you actually committing to the goal and getting the result and you kind of lying to yourself and not getting the result. So I'm going to bring up the presentation. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Shanae Ray. I have almost 1 million followers on LinkedIn, 425,000 plus LinkedIn newsletter subscribers, and am now committing to growing my YouTube channel. So you'll see us live on the channel 4 to 5 times a week, 5 to 6 times a week, actually. And if you're here, I'd love to know who you are, how you found us. Just share in the chat. So I'm going to bring up the question. And the question really that you have to ask yourself whenever you have your eyes set on a new goal is, are you willing to do the work required to get XYZ result or XYZ result? And this is a serious question because it requires you knowing what the work is, and it requires you really committing to doing not just the fun part, but the not so fun part to get the result. And so put in the chat the question, or just have this question in mind, take a screenshot, whatever. Are you willing to do the work required to get the result is the question that we're going to cover today. This is a question you want to ask yourself before you start working towards any new goal. And let me know what size you want me. I could be really tiny or this. Let me know which one you prefer. People often ask themselves, what do I want? So when they're looking for whatever their next goal is to achieve, they'll be like, what do I want? What should I want? Whatever. And instead of saying, well, what is the work that I'm actually willing to do? This is very important. And it's a question that more people should ask themselves. So I'm going to go through an example here. And the reason why more people don't ask themselves this question, I believe, is because we're just so focused on the end result that we really rarely think of the work required to get that result. But whenever you see a result, it's always it's always a byproduct of the actual work that is done. And by work, there's a lot of focus, time, energy, resources, sacrifices that had to be made to get that result. So you can't say you want XYZ result without also saying, I'm willing to do the work required to get that result. And so if you understand that, put yes in the chat. So for example, I'm going to use something very simple. We're going to say that I want to run a marathon in January. Well, I can't say I want to run a marathon in January if I'm not willing to sacrifice things that are currently on my calendar so that I can schedule practice runs in advance. I also have to be willing to talk to some type of runner who's run multiple marathons and figure out, well, if I can't run a mile, how do I work up within the next 120 days, within the next 90 days to running a marathon? So I have to put a lot of energy, resources, time, investment into just figuring out the schedule. Once I have this schedule, I have to remove things that are on my calendar. That may mean me missing some things for my daughter. That may mean me missing some dinners with my family. And if I'm not willing to sacrifice those things, then I might as well not commit, right? I have to be willing to dedicate time to do those practice runs. And if I don't believe in my self-discipline to do those runs because I don't like to run, then I have to also be willing to hire a coach or someone to keep me accountable to those runs, a friend, whatever, and to make sure that I don't injure myself or overwork myself in the process. I have to be willing to invest money into new shoes and to go to the store, 2 hours in the store where they watch your foot and how you actually run and the special shoes. If I'm not willing to do that, then I may hurt myself in the process. I may also have to be willing to sacrifice Saturday mornings to join a running group. And instead of sleeping in on Saturday morning, I may have to get up at 6 and run with the group till 10, right? I will have to buy a ticket to join an upcoming marathon and have the courage to share it on social media so that people on social media can also keep me accountable, as well as communicate with my family that I won't be able to potentially go out to eat as often or go here on the weekends, whatever. So the bottom line is when I'm just envisioning running a marathon, I can't commit from the get-go that I want to do that thing if I'm also not ready to do all of the other things that I just mentioned. Does this make sense? And too often I see people think that they want a result and they really don't. And so they quit so soon. And when I look at the clients that have gotten the most success when building the personal brand at Growth Academy, they just were willing to do the work required. It's really that simple. So for me to say, yeah, I want to run a marathon, I would have to be willing to do all of that. And the same applies to building a personal brand. So in 2024, it's really hard to say, yes, I want to build a personal brand, but I am not willing to do video. I'm not willing to go live. I have no time to create content. People are just going to find me telepathically. It's impossible to bridge that gap, right? So because the same principle applies to personal branding, many people say that they want to build a personal brand. I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs every week, and a lot of them think that they want to build a personal brand. Many people say they want to build a personal brand specifically on LinkedIn because they are ready to attract more of that high ticket type of client. And they know that high ticket type of client is on LinkedIn. And many people say they want to generate inbound clients on LinkedIn. So they may already be doing something on LinkedIn, but they don't want to depend on cold calls, cold DMs, and referrals forever. And many people say that they want these things. But the first question to those entrepreneurs when I am having a call with them, or when I'm on a Zoom with them or whatever, or when someone refers someone to me, I say, are you willing to do the work required? I'm not willing. I don't work with anyone not willing to do video. I don't work with anyone not willing to do live video. I'll refer you to someone else, right? Because that's the work that is required through our process. So the first question to you is, are you willing to do the work required? So if I told you yes, you could build a personal brand, and you could build one that could help you acquire inbound high ticket clients on LinkedIn. But for the first 30 days, if you aren't already, you would have to post once per day in your feed. For the second set of 30 days, you'd have to add a weekly LinkedIn newsletter. And if you don't have one, we'll figure out what that is. And then for the third set of 30 days, you would have to go live on video, showing your face all alone weekly on LinkedIn. Would you be willing to do the work required? And if you're listening to that and you're like, heck no, then that is fine. But if the answer is yes, then you should join us tomorrow. So tomorrow we're going to have a free LinkedIn challenge, and you'll really learn how to master especially the live video event feature on LinkedIn and why that could be the first step to differentiating yourself on the platform, as well as differentiating yourself and putting yourself in a better position for your business. And if you want to register for that, go to ugrow.club. But if you listen to that and you're like, there's no way I'm posting daily, there's no way I'm doing a weekly newsletter, there's no way I'm going live, then the next step for you really is, what work are you willing to do to build your personal brand? What work are you willing to do to increase the chances of success in your business? And whatever that work looks like, whatever the answer to that is, then the next step for you is to find a strategy that aligns with that work that you're willing to do because that's the only strategy that you will likely commit to long term. All right. Does this make sense? And so I just wanted to share this today. It's very simple, it's very short, it's very sweet. But really, when you're approaching something and when you say that you want something, always audit yourself and really ask yourself, well, I think that I want this, but am I willing to do the work required to get this result? And the problem with marketing and all of that is that a lot of the times the work that is required or marketed to be required is a lot less than what is actually required. So people don't tell you, yes, you're going to have to do all this work to get the result. They say it's going to be easy. They say it's going to be fast. And just know that things that last a very long time, things that are worth it, are very rarely both easy and fast. Now, they could feel easy after maybe 90 days when you've mastered the skill and you've, you know, gone through a little bit of the pressure. But to differentiate yourself, you really have to do some of the hard things. And if one of those hard things that you're willing to do is live video, then you know where to go. God bless you. Ciao.